Joined now by Michelle French, the new women's soccer head coach. Michelle, first of all, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So you're back in the Bluff. Just take us through the whole decision-making process and how you did ultimately end up back here.
Right. Portland has obviously held an extremely special place in my heart from the days that I used to play here. And so when I knew that the job opportunity had opened up, I think that it was always something that was in the back of my mind. I was really happy with what I was most recently doing with the women's national team, but I felt like it was the right thing for me to come to the school, meet with Scott and Jason, learn a little bit about the program and how it's changed and evolved over the last several years. So once I was able to do that and meet a lot of the people on campus, I felt like it was the right fit, and it was something that I was going to be really happy doing.
And so you mentioned you are an alum. You played her back in the 90s. You made it to 3 College Cups, 1 final, All-American defender. What are some of the things that stand out to you from back then?
I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is Clive and the culture that he created. I remember when I went on my recruiting trip and what he said to me when I walked into that office, and we sat down and he said, listen, I can't promise you're going to make the national team, but I can promise you that you're going to be a better player and more importantly a better person. And I want to bring that vibe, that philosophy and that energy back to this program.
Legendary Clive Charles, how did he influence you as both a player and now a coach?
Yeah, I think when you are playing at a school, you're not looking at your coach as a mentor in regards to being a coach yourself. So now, as I've coached for a number of years, I can look back and kind of tap into a lot of the things that, whether it was something that Clive said to motivate us, whether it was the simplicity of how he had us play the game, or if it was the passion and energy that he came to with every training session or anytime you walked into his office. I think those are all things that I've tried to emulate over the last several years as a coach, and something that I definitely want to bring back to the Bluff.
And you have extensive experience with the national team system. Now you're back, head coach of the Pilots. Going forward, what is your vision for this program?
It's kind of always a common thread and theme in what I've done as a coach. For me, building relationships with the players, whether it's through what they're doing academically or what they're doing on the field, I think is key to success. I think bringing in a level of trust and confidence where these players feel like what they are hopefully buying into is something that's meaningful and important, not only to the community, but to the students that are here, to the faculty, and obviously to the alumni as well. So, my vision for the program, let's get this culture rocking and enjoy being a part of the pilot program.
And you are very early in your tenure. It's pretty much day one.
It's day one.
Do you have any goals yet? Do you have any short-term, long-term goals?
I think goal number one is getting the culture created to how, not only based on how we want to play, but how these players are going to be in the locker room. What's the connection that they're going to have with the men's team and the rest of the athletic department, and then overall students and community, as I said. So that's going to be one big goal, and I think recruiting is going to be a massive piece for us moving forward. So getting boots on the ground at every single event that we can get to. So when people see the color purple at any showcase or any event, they're like, all right, Portland's here representing. Right?
And you mentioned recruiting. Do you have a recruiting philosophy, and what kind of players are you looking to bring into this program?
I've always said, based on the people that I have been around and played with, that it takes a really special person to come to Portland. I think not only special qualities and traits on the field, but something about their personality and their inner drive. And I know that you can't necessarily sit at a field and see that. So I think the one-on-one conversations with those players, telling them about what this program is going to be about and hopefully is about down the road, I think is something that's going to be extremely important. And then, of course, we've got to find, whether it's a diamond in the rough or a player that's a standout player, we've got to find a way to connect with them and get them either to come on campus, because I think once we get a player here, they're going to be blown away by not only the facilities, but what the culture is when they get here.
And one of the big questions among fans is the style of play. What kind of style of play do you envision this team playing?
When people show up to the game and they watch, I want them to feel that there is an energy, there is a passion, there is a connectivity in the way that the team's playing. I want to be aggressive on both sides of the ball. So whether that means we're pressing as often as we can to try to win it higher up the field, whether that means we have to drop and be extremely organized to then transition into attack. I really want us to be an exciting team, and definitely possession based, right? I go back to how Clive used to have us play. At the end of the day, it was just about enjoying the ball and having fun, and I want to bring that spirit back to this group.
Portland women's soccer has been a huge part of why Portland is called Soccer City USA.
Right.
What role do you see this team playing in the community going forward?
Well, with the national team, I've actually been fortunate enough to come to a number of Thorns games to watch some of the players, and that environment and that energy is electric. I know when I was here, it was always 4,000 fans, right? The Villa Drum Squad was out there supporting. You know, guys didn't have their shirts on. It was pilots painted. There was a camaraderie and a community that you always knew was going to show up to your game. And I think whether it's getting the team out in the community a little bit more, whether it's, you know, getting them to go through dorms, whether it's interacting with the pilot club, whatever it is, I'm fully committed. And from the sense I get from the players, I think they will be fully committed as well to get those people back out here, because we also obviously have to play well, and they've got to want to come out and watch us. But I think the first thing is the interaction and getting to know them.
One of the major identities of Portland soccer has been the plethora of successful alums, both on and off the field. How do you see this program reconnecting with that group, and what role do you see the alums playing?
Of course, we're one of a small handful of universities that have won 2 national championships. So the history and the tradition have already been set. And now when I think about the alumni of this program and the success that they've had, not only playing wise, but there's so many of us coaching now. It says a lot to what this university does for you in regards to being a great person. And I want those great people to be back around this program again. So whether it's setting up the most epic alumni weekend ever, whether it's getting players to come out to training, whether it's getting them to meet the players, I have a lot of ideas in my mind to reconnect with those alum. And I know that they are hungry to be supportive of this program and be a part of it, and they want people to come back into the stands. They want the student body there, and they want to come out and support the program. So I think there are a ton of different ways we can get them here, and I have a dry erase board. I've already started writing things down. So I'm excited to reconnect, and most importantly, as I said, they built that facility that's out there, and now it's time for this new group of players to feel that connection with them, but also write their own story, and that's what I'm really excited to hopefully do.
And as an alum, you've probably noticed some changes around campus. Yeah. How do things look a little different from then to now?
Well, first of all, the locker room. That's definitely different, which is amazing to see. I've seen it, but I'm still kind of blown away by it. The Beauchamp Center is incredible. It was like houses, I think, when I was here. New dorms have popped up as well, but it was good to see that Shipstad is still hanging out there and holding strong. And then even the landscaping is completely different. But I'm most excited about the 2 new fields that are going down below. So it's incredible the amount of resources that have been put into not only the women's soccer program but the school. And I can't see anything but the university and the women's soccer program trending upward.
And speaking of changes in the landscape, the collegiate game itself has changed, both probably in the style of play and then everything that comes along with it. Right. What do you see as the main differences, and how do you attack those coming from the national team level back down to college? Yeah,
I mean, I think you've seen, whether you're looking at the international level or collegiate, you see that there's been a bigger commitment to overall athleticism, and players are starting to understand even more how important that actually is. So I think the idea of strength and conditioning, the fitness programs that you put together are exceptionally important to success throughout the season. I think you see much more aggressive pressing style of defending from college teams now. Because you have the ability to sub more often than in the international game, you can put players out there and they can run their tail off and press for 10, 12, 15 minutes, whatever you want it to be. So I think that defensive intensity has definitely changed, and just the sophistication of players overall, because they've had excellent role models to look up to, whether it was from where they went to school or with the women's national team. So I think that's changed. And I do have one more. I think tactically, on the coaching side, people have really embraced changing the way or manipulating the way that they play to give them an upper hand on the field. So I think sophistication of players and coaches has kind of gone hand in hand as the landscape has changed.
So as a player, obviously a standout here at UP, you went on to an international career. How special was that, and what are some of your favorite memories as a player?
I just remember going to every training session thinking, oh my gosh, I need to work my tail off every single second of every single practice because these players are so good, they're so inspiring, even being a teammate with them. And so I think that culture they created at training was obviously exceptional, and I would love to bring that here as well. I think, being in Sydney for the Olympics, while it wasn't obviously in the United States, you still walk out there and you've got your contingency of American fans. And I just even remember the warm-up, just how the crowd was just chanting and so excited. One of my greatest memories is when we were playing Norway in the final, and Tiff, Tiff got, I don't know how she did it, but this cross came in. She's the shortest player on the field. She jumps up, she gets her head on it, and it ends up, I think, sending, if I remember right, sends us into overtime. And just screaming. I was not playing at the time, but just screaming and being so excited. And when it went into overtime, you have that 5-minute break. I was shaking her legs and I was like, I can't believe you just did that. It was just, I would say, which is actually cool because she's also a Portland alum. It was just such a cool feeling to be a part of. Another fantastic memory that I have with the women's national team is actually that my first cap was here at Merlot against England. So, you couldn't really write the script any better in regards to that.
So there's a lot of excitement right now with fans, alums.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've received a ton of support since the announcement has been made. What's the message out there to fans? How are you going to make Merlot Field the place to be once again?
I think the exciting, passionate, energetic style of play that we're going to put out on the field is something that's going to be really fun to watch. I know that it's going to be a process to put that feeling and that vibe in place, but I know that once we can do that, win, lose, draw, whatever it is, they're going to be proud to be sitting in those seats and supporting University of Portland.
And lastly, I want to know just how you're feeling as a player playing for Clive, now coming back all these years later as the coach of the program. What's going on inside? What are you feeling?
Yeah, I've said this because I've gotten that question a lot, and it's cliche, but it's extremely surreal and a full circle moment for me. If you would have asked me 2 months ago, did I see myself in this position, I probably would have said no, because I love what I was doing and still would love to do it. But there was just something about the stars aligning in a lot of different ways to help me be a part of this and get this position. And I honestly just could not be more thrilled.
Michelle French, thank you so much and welcome back to the Bluff.
Thanks.